Hello, welcome to The Balancing Act, the interview series that takes a behind the scenes look at the world of business, exploring how entrepreneurs, executives, or team leaders have succeeded and what they learned through the process. I'm your host, Cary Shields. Today, we are joined by Matt Strippelhoff, partner and CEO of Redhawk Technologies. Matt, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. If you would, why don't you start us off by just telling us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll go from there.
Sure. Yeah. So, what can I share with you? I have a Bachelor of Fine Arts degree from the Art Academy of Cincinnati. Played in a rock band for about 10, 12 years. Had our 15 minutes of fame playing at Lilith Fair in Riverbend in Cincinnati. And somehow ended up being a founder and owner operator of a successful software development company. So go figure. Sometimes our journey is not what we set out, at the beginning to being on. But yeah, it's just a little bit about me. So
I like it. So what was the band that had the success? Was it
so
some originals or was it covers?
it was all originals, and
Oh,
we
nice.
started in college just a three-piece, and it was more hard rock. It's just guitar, bass, drums. I did some of the singing. My now brother-in-law was playing bass and lead singer, and we had a really good time. It was somewhere. It was never this good, but it was somewhere between like Pearl Jam and Red Hot Chili Peppers vibe.
I
And as
love
the
it.
band kind of matured and stuff, and I got introduced to somebody who's just an amazing writer and singer, vocalist, a friend of mine, Sue Vogel. The whole thing changed dramatically, and we
Mhm.
ended up doing more roots rock, 10,000 Maniacs kind of stuff, right?
Yeah,
But it was all original, and so it was fun.
that's a
It was
lot
fun
of fun.
behind the bar there.
Yeah. Uh, did you ever hear of a band called Shag out of Cincinnati?
Oh yeah, I used to go see Shag at Sudsy Malone's, and
Yes.
Sudsy's was a killer venue. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't know those guys well, but Chris, the bass player from
Yeah.
Shag, he actually was giving guitar lessons when my daughter was taking guitar lessons. That's who she
Oh,
took
wow.
lessons from. Yeah, small world.
I
So
still follow Chris on Instagram.
yeah, it was a great scene here back in those days in Cincinnati. So
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of fun.
My
But yeah, the
younger
name of the band
brother.
that I was in was Grace in Gravity. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's on Spotify if anybody wants to take a peek, but that's not what we're here to talk about. So
That's right. Man, good on you. Good on you. Yeah, my younger brother was also a graduate of UC and he played in Shag for a while. That's how I knew him.
oh wow,
Yeah,
okay.
whenever I got to see him, I was just like, "Oh man, this is just the coolest thing." So yeah,
Cool thing. We're going to do another podcast all about funk and
that's right. We'll do that.
local regional artists. Yeah.
That was awesome. So yeah, fast forward, and then you find yourself years ahead. You're working around Cincinnati, and somehow that led to the creation of Red Hawk Technologies. Tell me a
Yeah.
little bit about that period. What were you doing?
Yeah. Well, it was a transitional point for me. My daughter was about a year and a half old. 9/11 occurred. I was early in my career in designing user experiences and figuring out how to go from concept to execution in working with businesses that were interested in web-based applications, right? So very entrepreneurial group that I was working with and for clients, very entrepreneurial as well. And this was early. We're talking. I mean, 1999 is when I went to work for a software engineering company, doing that type of work,
Right.
right? And it was really cool. People were trying to figure out how to do it. This is before agile, right?
Sure.
Which is a popular term in software engineering today. It's very good methodology, and it was more waterfall. But we had our 15 minutes of fame on stage as a rock band, and my daughter was young in my career. I was at this moment where I could try and hit the road with the band and try and make something happen there, or really pursue the career. And I love the writing and recording the studio more than being out playing live, and
Yeah.
decided that I was going to pursue the
Yeah.
path of software engineering, but not as a software engineer, more on the business requirements gathering, figuring out what that user experience is going to be like. So I was able to put my creative sensibilities toward creating really neat, unique user experiences. So that
Yeah.
was that was a moment, sometimes early in your life, you have all these different options ahead of you, and that's the
Yeah.
path that I chose. I have no regret, but yeah, there were some other challenges along the way, but that was the first choice. There's
Yeah,
many on the road.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
And Red Hawk Technologies, I mean, it's basically it's from what I could quickly gather. So correct me, and then you can share the rest. But what I thought I read was basically it's customization of technology that every business needs, and certainly at a larger scale. You get to a larger scale, and you're just not going to be able to manage your business with Excel spreadsheets and sticky notes and whiteboards. It's going to get a little real pretty quick. And number one, it's hard to find the technology that you might need, whether it is to keep teams accountable, or whether just the customer management. There's so many technologies that people need just to keep the company on the rails. Do I have that correct in a sense that what you guys do is that kind of customization for the client?
Close. Yeah. So we'll advise our clients, depending on where they are in their journey in their business, if there's commercial software available. So your customer relationship management tools like HubSpot and
Yeah.
Salesforce, CRM tools, we'll always advise that they find one that's suitable for their business and start using those types of tools off the shelf. Where Redhawk typically comes into play is when there's a need to integrate data from those types of systems to communicate across those systems. We'll develop
Oh,
some custom middleware that sits in between those systems to customize them, but we're
yeah.
working kind of on the peripheral of those systems, or periphery, I should say. And then beyond that, we do a great deal of custom web and mobile applications. So these are things that our clients can't find off the shelf.
Okay.
And so that's custom software development. But really what makes us unique, there's a lot of companies that do this type of work. But where we're highly specialized is in serving that SMB and mid-market
Okay.
space.
Yes.
And in that we bundle the software engineering services to create that custom solution, whatever it may be, with ongoing technical support, maintenance, and enhancement. So we're basically their outsourced software development team.
Hmm.
But by handling it the way that we do, we can help them carefully manage their cash flow and properly support and maintain that asset they now have in their business so it doesn't become a liability.
Right.
So it works great in the mid-market. It's not ideal for enterprise because enterprise, they have internal teams that can support and maintain custom solutions.
Hmm.
But mid-market, when they get to that point in their growth in their business where they need those types of custom solutions, they generally don't have software engineers in-house. And
Right.
so
Yeah.
by bringing in those disciplines to help them stand something up, support and maintain it, and then distributing the cost out over a longer term contract, they can
Hmm.
treat it like a mix of CapEx and OpEx.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I'm on this podcast telling everybody in the world about this thing, but that's a big part of our success. And we're the only software engineering company operating this way today. So we've seen hockey stick growth as a result. So it was a breakthrough for us.
And you
Pretty
guys
cool.
started 2008, is that correct?
Yeah, right. Yeah. So what do you do in 2008 when the real estate bubble bursts and the market crashes? Start a business.
Start a business. That's right. If not 2008, you wait till 2020.
There's never a right time, right? You got to follow the inspiration and the opportunity and be willing to take some risks. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's when we started in 2008, and boy, that was another pivotal moment for me. Pretty important one. We've had a lot of stops along the way.
Mm.
And friends of mine have asked me in circles that I run in, other business owners and peer groups and things of that nature. It's always a question we love to ask one another, right? As entrepreneurs,
Sure.
why did you start your business? What was that inspiration? Why,
Mm.
what drove you to that outcome or to take
Yeah.
that chance? Because it's risky, right?
Yes.
It's a safe bet. We think it's a safe bet to work for other people.
Yeah.
And it can be. Just depends on if you find the right culture, right environment, and of course, it's not all rainbows and sunshine in
Right.
either scenario.
Right.
But I had to take a chance because my answer typically is this: I'm unemployable.
I know that feeling.
Do you know that feeling? Yeah, because it's like when you've got a pretty clear vision vision's really, I think, the secret sauce for any entrepreneur if they're going to have success. They have to have vision.
Mhm.
It's got to go beyond, I can do it better, faster, cheaper, or it's just, you got to have something that's going to provide a unique path for the customers in the market. You got to have something.
Right.
But most of us start, I believe, because we just have the passion and at least a belief, right, wrong, or indifferent, a belief, and we could be wrong, and I've been wrong a lot, that I can do it better, right? So when I say I'm unemployable, it's I've been fired a couple of times in my career,
Hmm.
you
That's,
know,
yeah.
and
Thank you for
and I
sharing
think
that. Yeah.
I think it's a little bit of probably a little friction, and being much more mature at this point at my age and having a lot of experience and a lot of self-discovery, which I think is really important for leaders to embrace, is self-awareness. Your best leaders are going to be invested in becoming more and more self-aware, right?
Yes. Yes.
And so hindsight for me, I probably could have created a little bit less friction in, in some of those relationships when I work for other people.
Right.
And one of the things I learned about myself. Are you familiar with Clifton's Strengths Finder?
Hmm.
Yeah, I think it's a really cool exercise to go through. It's great, great book, great resource.
Yeah.
Uh, I learned about myself that conflict, my perception of conflict is that it's a tool, it's a useful tool, and
Useful.
conflict's okay.
Yes.
So I embrace conflict,
Yes.
but it's not okay for everybody.
Right.
And so finding a way to kind of discuss different options or solutions to a problem. I think early in my career, very early, I was probably a little abrasive. I could have
Yeah.
been a little softer touch, but I'm kind of grateful. I have no regrets because these folks that said, "Hey, you got to go," gave me some nice opportunities.
Yeah. Yeah. My greatest opportunities, same way. So, since you're comfortable with that conflict and that concept, because I agree, it's often one that I feel I'm trying to relate to others.
Yeah.
So, I have a thought, but I'm going to try and just open it and let you speak to it. But
Okay.
what, where is conflict useful, or I guess how do you leverage conflict successfully? What do you do with that team? Because there's a conflict. It's at least you and one other. If it's not, a whole team's involved, even though there's two that are a true conflict. How you
Yeah.
leverage that?
It's really important to understand the individual traits of the team. Their communication style is critical, right?
Yeah.
Most, in some cases, conflict is rooted in misunderstanding or misaligned expectations.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
You know, so if the scenario I'm in as a leader is to try and coach a couple of individuals or team members through some conflict that is being escalated to my attention, if it's being escalated to my attention, then it's a problem, right? The
Sure.
rest of the management or leadership team hasn't figured out how to solve that problem yet.
Mhm.
I'm first going to understand as much as I can about the circumstances, what's going on. Is it a difference of opinion and somebody's really dug in?
Mhm. Yeah.
And then it's really just, they're just trying to figure out the best path forward.
Right.
Then that helps. But understanding how those individuals are wired is really important. So I'm thinking about people I've worked with in the past and continue to work with today. And I'll give you an example. This is, again, I think there's a lot of personality profiling tools out there that you should never take as black and white and gospel, but they
Right.
can still be really informative and really helpful.
Mhm.
So one of the most talented engineers I've ever worked with, if you said, hey, I need this now, and you kind of, there's some pressure,
Mhm.
and that individual is an absolute craftsman.
Right.
The response, his initial response, is all 100% of the time going to be no, and it 100% across the board, right? Now, if you don't understand that's how that mind works, you're like, well, that's conflict. This guy, he's just not, a
Just
team
refuses.
player, not collaborating. He's just a no guy, right?
Yeah.
In reality, what he's really doing is he's saying, time out. I can't agree to anything because the way he's wired, he needs time with whatever the request is, some additional materials. He's got to digest that, think about it. And I can tell you 100% of the time, this individual has come back with much better plans.
Yes.
So sometimes, I don't know if I'm answering your question per se, but that
No. Yeah.
conflict, right, in that moment, but
Mhm.
knowing how he's wired, how he operates, giving him the latitude, and then changing my communication style. It's not, hey, this is what I need from you by Tuesday. It's, here's what we're thinking about doing. Here are the challenges we're faced with. I was thinking it might go down. It might look something like this, but I don't need you to respond right now. Right? Let's just talk in a couple of days and give you some time with this.
Yeah.
And then he's okay. And then he'll still, because he is how he's wired, he's still going to give me all the reasons why it's a dumb idea or it's risky, or because he starts with all of the challenges,
Sure. Right.
which
Yeah.
is fantastic. Because if you had the other type of personality in the room, that's super optimistic, everything's going to work out, it's just a golden path,
Yes.
right? Rainbows and unicorns all day long, right? Then it's like, well, when are they going to run into the challenges? So there's benefits to both of those types of individuals,
Yeah.
but there can be difference in the communication style can create conflict.
Yeah.
So, um, boy, yeah, helping teams and individuals on those teams become more self-aware, I think, is really important too. So anytime that we can provide education, training, coaching,
Yeah.
and build more psychological safety,
Yeah.
right, in a team
Yes.
environment, then they'll
Yeah.
start giving each other the same type of permission to, like, oh, I get
Yeah.
it, he's going to say no, it's fine, we'll go to the meeting with presenting the challenges and saying we'll talk on Tuesday, right?
Right. Right. Right.
And
Yeah.
man, that guy comes up with some killer solutions for us.
There's so much material out there. It sounds like you've already adopted a process of, in today's world, it's definitely not. It's not like it was during the Depression or any other low time in society. That we're not, people aren't begging for jobs. They're just not. And so
No.
you can't just be like, here's a task, it better be done by Tuesday. That it's just not that world. And so you have to have that ability to coach. Do you often feel like you're coaching your team to alliance? That as you coaching the team, do you feel that often?
I yes and no. I think with new team members, I think there's an onboarding process, where there
Mhm.
might be some more coaching or an initial period of time where they start to really understand the culture and the way that we communicate with one another, or core values, et cetera. And to understand members of the team that have been here for a period of time so they can really get strong at communicating. So um, less coaching required from me now,
Oh,
and maybe more from middle management and other leaders on the
okay.
team.
Yeah.
And I've shared a lot of what I've learned over the years, resources, et
Mhm.
cetera. Um, and the leadership team meets once a week,
Yeah. Okay.
right? And so, yeah, it's an interesting time for the business.
Yeah. Oh, good. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
What makes a great team?
Oh boy, transparency and empathy.
Wow. Wow. Love that. Good job.
I think everything else falls into place. If you've got empathy and transparency, then you've got that psychological safety that you need to be open, communicate about
Yeah.
problems, not sweep anything under the rug. That leads to all the other good stuff: integrity, collaboration,
Yes.
the team's rowing in the same direction. So that's a top-down thing, right? From a leadership management
Yes.
perspective, you've got to create a culture that supports and rewards that. Now,
Yeah.
what can be difficult, I think, is recognizing when it's systematically doing this. We have not cracked the code on this, by the way, but I'm just going to share it with you anyway. I don't think we have any particular challenges around this issue, but it's something I think about systematically, being able to identify when people are operating outside or in direct conflict with the core values of the business.
Oh, yes.
It's hard to, you don't always know that. I don't know. So
I agree that, yeah,
I
but you
think that,
can feel it. I think you can have a sense for it, even though, like you're saying, you sense it and you think about
yeah,
it. Yeah.
yeah,
But a process that helps identify and then remove, you know, like
yeah.
there's a couple of things that I always when I'm working with teams. One is with focal point, we use behavior.
Mm-hmm.
The thing I love about the behavior, which is the disc, it's
Yeah.
just so easy to comprehend in the first place. And the
Yep.
second place is it's only behavior.
Yeah.
So if someone points out that if I were a real steady personality, I really want a lot of information before I want to commit to a change, and I really kind of prefer to not make any change at all. If that was who I was, you know, and I didn't like it, I can work at that. I can work at my behavior. You can change your behavior. So a behavior review really is more of a moment in time. And then the other thing I'd
Yeah.
like to share is a learning thing where you go from, you know, unconsciously incompetent to unconsciously competent, you know, those stages. And what's great is just before unconsciously competent, think about driving a car. Driving a car is one of the best analogies I can find. And the reason it is, it's like, well, how many times you drive today and you don't really remember which direction you drove to get home? You're so good at
Mhm.
it. But the downside with the unconsciously competent, like probably you, if you picked up a guitar, it's still kind of there. But driving a car, unconsciously competent, you might get a speeding ticket.
Yeah.
You might think you can check your voice message or text messages or
Yeah.
choose a
Yeah.
different song while you're driving down the road and you're viewing your phone versus viewing the road. Consciously competent is one step down and it's driving back to it. And I think knowing a company that knows its core values is able to see someone who has fully learned and is up there at that unconsciously competent, but is beginning to waver. So they're so unconsciously competent. Now they're speeding. They never meant to be speeding. They're just speeding,
Hmm.
right?
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, that might be a way of looking at it.
That's cool. That's cool. I like that idea.
Yeah,
One thing that we do is just a matter of routine, is weekly. We have weekly company-wide meeting. It's a stand-up, lasts about 30 minutes.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
The teams break out into subgroups and have a stand-up. It takes about 15 minutes each day. So they're reviewing what's going on each day. And then there's the project managers all meet as a group once a week as well for a brief meeting. And they're tracking shout outs and asking people to share the good news,
Right.
success, and
Yeah.
support that they're receiving from each of the team members, right? And so we vocalize that. So in the company wide meeting, there's what was your weekly win,
Hmm.
and just something I use as kind of a barometer, if you will. Is when there's more weekly wins that are individuals giving shout outs to other team members for the successes.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
To me, that helps me see that the culture's in a really good place. And right
Yeah.
now, the culture's in a really good place. But the PMs, they also track and capture when they see team members
Hmm.
demonstrating our core values through action.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so we track that as well. Now, we haven't dialed in on how we're going to reward that, but it's just like rewarding the all the right behaviors, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
fun. This is a journey, man. Nothing's perfect. So uh,
That's right.
we'll have challenges all along the way, as you know. It's yeah, yeah. It's fun though. It's a good time.
Absolutely. I loved your use. You said emotional, I think emotional safety,
Psychological safety. Yeah.
psychological safety. Thank you. And the thought I had before when I was trying to table the question was the trust.
Yeah.
And so those I think are maybe the same, but in trust, the best I've heard it described is that I trust that you actually heard me, even though you disagree. So we're both, and I'm like, no, it must be red font. No, Cary, it really needs to be black font. I really think it's red font, and I've given all the reasons, and I truly feel heard. And that I think a lot of that stems from being able to show me that red font here would create this, or something that helps me feel valid, that, oh, I see, I truly was heard there, because they could absolutely speak to what they think is not good about what I'm pushing for. I think
Yeah.
finding that trust is the key. I think you guys have it. I mean, just your speech, the way you deliver it's clear that Red Hawk already has this sort of in. Would you say this was in from the foundation, like when it was
No.
no?
No.
You
No,
built over time.
you learn, man. When I started this company with my business partner in 2008, it was just two of us. Right?
Right.
He was a back end software engineer, mad scientist in a lab coat. The dude is amazing, right? I love this guy. He's like a brother. And I was more on the business side of things, the creative, maybe more business analyst kind of a mindset. Should it be done? Just because you're asking, maybe we should, right? So I've challenged things and kind of
Yeah.
worked through things, and loved creating things and building things. But it was
Yeah.
just the two of us, so we were doers.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
The transition from being a high performer in a specific role to management to leadership is not easy, and there's a lot of misconceptions about how that's going to go.
Yeah.
There's a really good book out there by Ryan Hawk called Welcome to Management. And I don't know if you've ever
Yes.
come across that book.
Yes. I've not read it, but yeah.
Yeah, there's some good stuff in there. There's a lot of good key learnings in there. I would say that I didn't even know about that book until I was spending time investing time and money to become a better leader with the peer group and business coaching and things like that. That's critical to success, right? That's how you're going to have your breakthroughs, because you only know what you know. You got the tools you bring with you, and yeah, you can develop some tools along the way on your own. That's a hard path. And so from 2008 until 2017, we had pretty steady growth. And then as we added more people to the team, we went from just the two of us by the end of, it sounds like a great song, right? Anyway, so started just the two of us in 2008, and it was great bromance. We were having a lot of fun. We were making some money. We added a couple more team members. So by the end of, I think, 2009, we were up to like 7 or 8 people,
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah.
manageable. And I was still doing a lot of billable work. Ron was still doing a lot of billable work, and then you add more complexity to the model, because now I'm not the one project managing anything anymore, right? So I bring in 2 more project managers, and I got to train them and still do all the work.
Right.
I'm still trying to be a doer and trying
Right.
to hire and train, and then figure out how to be a good leader. I haven't figured out how to be a good leader yet. And then it just started to get messy, right? So to answer your question, no, man, we didn't start with this stuff. We didn't have it all figured out. We had some serious bumps on the road. Another big pivotal moment for us was in the spring of 2017. And this is something for your listeners to be thinking about, depending on where they are in their journey, right?
Yeah.
Customer concentration risk.
Okay.
A lot of times we start a business and it's because we've got a couple of great clients, and it gives us that revenue we need to get started.
Right.
And you
Oh,
become
yes.
right. And so we had a wonderful account that was generating 40% of our gross revenue.
Yeah.
I had 16 people on the team, and felt responsible for them and their families, et cetera, right? Spring of 2017, within the first, it was in January, I got 3 phone calls. 3 phone calls. One was from my primary contact at that company, who said, Matt, you know how this goes. We can't give anybody any advance notice. I'm really sorry. We've been acquired.
Right. Yeah.
When there's due diligence going on in an M&A
Yes.
activity, they are under a non-disclosure agreement. They can't let you know anything's coming.
Right.
That company was acquired. All the special projects came to a halt, and we were down to just a maintenance contract, which was we were on track to do $750,000 that year with that one account,
Mm-hmm.
and we did 110,000 that year for that with that account. You know what the other two phone calls were? No, client number 2 and client number 3. And client number 2 calls and says, Matt, I'm really sorry, man. You know how these things go.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
There's no way for me to give you any advance notice. We've been acquired.
Oh,
We're going to let you finish the $150,000 project you got going on.
right.
The other 5 that are in the pipeline, that was a domino project. We were just biting it off in chunks that we had planned, budgeted, no contracts. They're gone.
Yeah.
150K right there, lost revenue. Boom, one phone call.
Early January.
Yeah, all in January. Then I get a third phone call. Anyway, you guys can figure out the rest. It's like we went from 16 people to 8 by the end of that year.
Oh, yeah.
And that is a heart-wrenching,
Yeah. Yeah.
difficult experience for any business leader, manager, owner, operator to go through. So
then it was the rebuild. You have to start all
yeah,
over.
yeah.
There was, I mean, that's such a great story. I'm tempted to close on it. Let me ask you this.
yeah.
Where did you and your partner find the strength in that moment to persevere? What did you think about? Just yeah, what made you persevere?
I had no option B.
That often is helpful.
It's helpful. You might remember when we started this conversation out, I said something about being unemployable. And I thought, man, I got to figure this thing out,
to figure this out.
Yeah, and once we righted the ship and we kind of leveled the team size with the contracts that we had available to us, we were in a great position to start over. Now there was a lot of deep thinking, a lot of strategic planning, and how are we going to build a bigger, better, stronger, more resilient company?
Yeah.
And honestly, that's what led to our innovation in the fall 2019. We sold our first contract. That bundled service model I was talking about.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
I had to go through that pain and that part of my journey to get clarity around that vision.
Nice. Okay.
And
Of course.
you don't grow without some pain.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true, up from the ashes. It's true. Yeah.
It's absolutely true. I tell, and this is, I'm sure this is in somebody else's book. Somebody else has quoted this many times, but success is a terrible teacher.
Cruel, but yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you're
Yes, I totally know what you mean.
you're not learning, you don't learn until, man, your back is up against the wall, or you fail, or things burn down, and it's like crap. But then you can take all this prior experience and say, what did I learn from that? But most of us don't take the time to reflect on what we learned from past experience unless we're in an inflection point of like, oh my gosh, I got to figure out what the heck's going on, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise it's just rinse and repeat. Oh, that worked. And
Yeah.
you don't spend a lot of time learning from the past. And so because of what we learned in that client concentration risk in the market we serve and really what we kind of specialize in, we built a better mousetrap.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a great client concentration. That's a great bit of advice, because I've known companies that basically they were losing their book of business too, but it wasn't fast. They didn't have enough pain, so they didn't even realize it. So they literally were just rinse and repeat, and they thought they're doing fine, but meanwhile it was ever shrinking.
Oof.
Yeah, right. And they don't know it. There's not enough pain there for them to really realize. And if they've not been thinking, I mean, 5 years makes a difference. And it's so yeah. There's the blessings in all that pain. Absolutely. That is
Yeah.
that is awesome. That's such good information, man. Thank you. Let me ask
Yeah.
you this: if someone is wanting to get in touch with you, whether it's to work with Redhawk Technologies, whether it is just to befriend you because of your wisdom, they want to learn from you. If someone wants to try and reach out to you, how do you prefer they reach out?
LinkedIn is probably the easiest way. Just look me up on LinkedIn, shoot me a message. Otherwise, they can go directly to Redhawk Technologies website, redhawk-tech.com. So, yeah, but I love these conversations, and it's just who we are as a company, as a culture. We just strive to deliver value when we can. So when you invited me to participate on this podcast, I thought, well, why not, man? This will be fun. There's going to be maybe somebody out there will watch this, and some part of my story is going to resonate, and it'll deliver some value and some benefit to them. And if that's the outcome from this conversation, then I helped somebody out there, and I just feel really good about that. So yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Matt, thank you very much.
Yeah.
All right. Well, to the viewers and listeners, that wraps up another episode of The Balancing Act. I hope you enjoyed it. Very thankful for Matt and and your time you've given us today. So until next time, I'm your host, Cary Shields. Stay in balance.